Hi, I'm Dion and welcome to leavingcertmathsvideos.com. This question is very important. It comes up every year, either in this format or maybe we're asked if the remainder is maybe 4 and then to work the solution out. But here we're told that kx minus t is a factor of this equation here. So if it is a factor of this equation here, we'll have no remainders. So we're going to have to divide this term into this term here, and hopefully enough we'll have no remainders at the end. So kx minus t, when you're dividing one into the other here, you have to look at the terms on the left hand side. So our terms on the left hand side here are kx, and in this term it's k cubed x cubed. So the question we want to ask ourselves is, what do we have to multiply kx by to get k cubed x cubed? And the answer of course is k squared x squared. So we put k squared x squared up here. Now, so we multiply this term by this term here. So k squared x squared times kx is k cubed x cubed, which we're hoping for. And then we multiply k squared x squared by t. We have negative k squared, I'll just write this in here, that's below. Squared. Now, to subtract one from the other, we have to change the sign of every term in the bottom line. So that is negative and that's a positive. We subtract one from the other here and we get a nice number called 0. And now we have to look at our next term here, which is this. Now, kx into, kx, this term here, into ktx. We have to multiply that term by t, just to get that term right hand side. So that plus t, and multiply t by this term here, so it's plus ktx. Yeah, I'll bring this down actually, just we need to. Negative t squared. Now, so t times this is ktx. And negative t times positive t is negative t squared. And we subtract, change the sign of every term in the bottom line, and then we get 0. So we have no remainder. So that implies that kxt is a factor of this term here because we have 0 as a remainder. So kxt is a factor and k squared x squared plus t is a factor. Now, on the next part of the question here, we're asked to show that it has, what's the question? Yeah, we're asked what values of t does this equation have 3 different roots? Well, in order to find that out, we have this is one root and this is another root. But this root here only gives us one root. But this root here might actually give us 2 roots because we have an x squared term. So when this is a root, kx minus t is equal to 0 because it's a root. So similarly, k squared x squared plus t is equal to 0. So we'll just go down here. K squared x squared plus t is 0. K squared x squared plus t is equal to 0. By definition, if it's a root, it's equal to 0. So we want to get x by itself. So we just subtract t from both sides. So we have kx squared is equal to negative t. And also, extend page, kx squared is equal to negative t. So we divide both sides by k. So that implies that x squared is equal to negative t over k. So here now we're asked the question, what values of t here will give us 2? We need 2 different values of x here. So basically we need this number on the right hand side to be positive. Say if we had, say, x squared is equal to, for example, with 9. Then we know that x has got 2 values because x can be negative 3 or x can be 3. So we really want this term here to be a positive term. We want this term here to be positive. So what values of t will leave our term on the right hand side positive? You might say, oh, positive 6, but then you're wrong because that negative positive 6 is negative 6. So t has to be a negative term because you have negative t. So in essence, we're looking at, say, for example, if t was 6, it'd be negative 6. If t was positive 6, sorry, then our overall answer would be negative. So t here has to be a negative number, so we get negative times negative x. Say for example, so that gives obviously a positive number. But we'll just make that 2. So that gives a positive t. So that means that t has to be a negative number and it can't be 0 because then x will be one term. So t has to be a negative number less than 0. T is less than 0 and t is an element with real numbers. And that concludes that question.